Hey everyone, I'm so excited to have Tim Abel with us. Tim is definitely a man of multi-faceted stories, a lot of backgrounds, a very interesting person. I've grown to be very close to Tim and his wife, Georgia, who are great home cooks on DishDivvy, but have a lot more to offer with their story. And invited Tim today to give us a little bit of his story as it relates to his service for our country and kind of what Memorial Day means to him. So Tim, welcome to our little podcast episode here.
Thank you very much, Johnny, for having me. That's a big
Yeah.
honor.
Yeah, so just to give people like a quick background, you and I met through DishDivvy. You and Georgia are a power couple when it comes to like all things cooking, baking, creativity. And then we kind of grew to like really bond over like, you know, your stories, our stories, have you over for dinner. And I think one thing that's like really prominent about you and comes through in like everything that you do is like your love for your country and your love for serving your country. So when we thought about, you know, doing a post on Instagram for Memorial Day, we're like, you know, we don't want to post just about food. Like that's not what Memorial Day is about. Let's go to someone who knows really in their heart what Memorial Day is about. So let's start there. Like what does Memorial Day mean to you and why is it so important?
The wonderful thing about Memorial Day, and it's a somber occasion for many people, especially like Gold Star families. Those individuals who gave their life for our country. That's what we are honoring on Memorial Day. And definitely, food is a huge thing because we should celebrate their actual outstanding service and their sacrifice, and not be morose about it. Uh, but honor their memory and with their service, their sacrifice to our country, and having given their life, that last full measure, as we say, to provide us with this umbrella of freedom that we've enjoyed for 200 plus years. And so everybody has somebody in their family who has served. Most people have somebody down the line in their family who perhaps was in Vietnam or World War II, World War One, even Civil War, going back, that gave their lives to preserve this unique experiment called America, this melting pot of individuals that come from all over the world to, like today, we still have people every day. How many thousands are coming across the border every day? Why? For a better life, because it's America. And people want to enjoy the freedoms that we have here. So that's what Memorial Day is. You want to go out, have a good time, go see a ball game, barbecue. But remember, at some point, remember those who gave their life so we
Yeah.
could do. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's put really well. And just to kind of backtrack a little bit, give us your background in the service and what part of the branch of the military were you in and, you know, when did you serve? And then we'll kind of go into further
Sure.
questions.
My service was from '76 to '82, and uh, part of it was active duty. Part of that was what we call the inactive reserves. But for usually when you get out of the military, you have another 2 years of service. That if something happened, that you could be called back in. So we always call that the kind of the ready reserve, inactive reserve.
Mhm.
But the 4 years of my service was, for me, it's like one of the most um, wonderful experiences of my life. The people that I met, the people that I worked with, the experience of learning who I was as an individual. I always say every man wants to know what metal they're made of and what can they endure. And when I signed up to become a ranger in the army, there's no guarantees, but you look at that journey, the path that you'd have to take to become the best soldier you could actually be in the army, for me. And I was an avid reader as a kid. I loved military histories and whatnot, and to understand what an individual has to go through to become a ranger or special forces or a Navy SEAL or Marine Corps scout snipers, all those high end jobs. It takes a lot of dedication on the individual's part, but also the team that you're working with, because
For sure.
everybody motivates each other, but you have to be sort of self-motivating yourself, because no one's going to get you there except for you. And your team does encourage you. And those Rangers, I always say young Rangers because we were all young men at that time and great physical and mental capabilities at the time. It's, that team is so important. Like with DishDivvy, you have a team of people around you and all your cooks and all of your other advisors and everybody that works with you to help make DishDivvy successful. And that's the same thing in the military. And specifically when I was a Ranger, that core group of individuals around you and your NCOs, non-commissioned officers, and the officer, the leadership corps that provide you with the example, as we say in the Rangers, they set the example for others to follow. And so
Yeah.
that's one of it was one of the most wonderful, challenging, difficult times of my life, but it was also one of the most rewarding as well. And I'm still friends with many of the guys that I served with. And from the Rangers, I had gone to the Old Guard, which is in Arlington, where Arlington National Cemetery is. And a friend of mine, Rick Gibney, had gone there and got some strings pulled, got me assigned to the caisson platoon. And if you think of one of the most famous funerals that most people remember is John F. Kennedy when he died. And they had the White Horse caisson that pulled his casket through from the rotunda, through D.C. to Arlington National Cemetery to where JFK is now resting with the eternal flame. And that, to me, was like, wow, what an honor this is to take our fallen heroes, or take our a lot of the generals and whatnot, and people that served in Vietnam and World War II, and now they're old fellas that now died, and where they're being laid to their final resting place at Arlington Cemetery with full honors, military honors, and horse-drawn caisson and 21-gun salute. Everybody that does their job, it's with such impeccable precision, down to the guys at the stand guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And if you've never seen the changing of the guard there, it's just one of those things that kind of gives me goosebumps in just talking about it. But all of that is to honor our veterans, whether they died in battle, or whether they succumbed from wounds from battle, or whether they died of old age or had served their country when they were younger. And so that's Arlington Cemetery. To me, that was, God, it was just one of the most amazing experiences, and learning the reverence that we put into every funeral and every casket that's laid on that caisson, and pulling it to their final resting place with the family there and the flag being folded. It's, it was an amazing opportunity and honor for me to have been chosen to do that. So I always look at that. I always encourage anybody, if you've never been to Arlington National Cemetery, go to Washington, D.C., see all the, the Lincoln Memorial, the Capitol, the Jefferson Memorial, the museums, but go to the National Cemetery, Arlington, and just see the changing of the guard. Go to JFK's final resting place. Find your relatives who might be buried there, who had served, in previous wars, from years and years ago, but they're still part of your family. But go visit that grave, and just see the sea of white headstones, just simple headstones that represent the young men and women who fought, bled, and died for our country.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, it's been on my list to do that. And just through hearing it from you, like, definitely I need to accelerate that trip, because, you mentioned that, like, someone in your family has probably served, whether it's in like this war or that war or no war at all, or however they had. My story is a little bit different. I mean, I very much value these holidays like Memorial Day or Veterans Day, because you do take pause to be thankful for the opportunities that we have. And I come at it from an immigrant standpoint, where, my parents fled a very terrible regime. So they fled, Islamic revolution in Iran, and, came to this country as refugees, very much like started from nothing, right? And built some sort of like success, and had their children grow up to go into college and be successful. And it really was the American dream. And it's the land of opportunity where you have access, and you just have to just go for it. And there's support, and there's really a system that works to empower you, even if you're coming from a country like Iran, for instance.
Well, I think it's wonderful when we have, and listen, I get the crisis that we have on our southern border, and people coming across and not knowing who everybody is. It's very challenging, and if not now, but so at some point, it causes issues. But legal immigration into our country is not easy, and it truly, I have to say, some of the best, most wonderful people and patriots who, just like your story, like you told me about fleeing from the country your parents were from, and that those immigrants, like yourself, are understand what freedom is. They understand what not freedom is, and they understand it so deeply into their soul that I wish that a lot of the young Americans who don't see it that way. They look at this country and they don't appreciate what it means to be free. They don't understand what it means not to be, for instance, having a KGB or having some other entity, or in communist China, where everything is monitored, and they monitor what you can watch.
And I think listening to our parents tell these stories over the years, because I was maybe 2 years old when we left, so I clearly don't remember like the oppression, but I've grown up with these stories, and my husband's family fled Soviet Armenia, and so they were fleeing for a different reason, for communism, and have this similar stories, obviously a little bit different, but like similar like stories. And kind of like, this is the favorite part of my office. I have this flag on the wall, and then I don't know if you can see, but maybe over here is an heirloom that my grandmother had sewn. She was a great seamstress, so she had sewn this like embroidery. She's now deceased, but like she came as an immigrant to the US very like later on in her life. Like I think she was like 70, 75 years old, right? So my parents came, and then they brought their parents, and she loved America. Like anywhere she went, she would say, "I love America, I love America." And she could barely speak English, because she immediately saw like the freedom that was here, and every opportunity that like her kids and her grandkids were taking. So I love the fact that, this heirloom is next to the American flag in my office, because it really speaks volumes of like, that immigrant story. And we don't have someone who served in the US military, but we are very thankful for the ones who have, and like will always be, right?
Yep, it's one of the most, again, down to our immigrants, because we have, I have on my mom's side, they came from Ireland, and then my dad's side, they came from Germany, and it's so many wonderful stories. I didn't know, my great grandparents, that sort of thing, but hearing stories about our country. My grandfather served in World War One, told us stories that he joined when he was 16, and lied about his age so he could go fight the Germans over in France, and told stories which kind of illuminated me as a little kid and made me want to join the army. I always said, when I was like, he would tell these stories sitting on his lap in the TV room, me and my brother, my sister, and he would show us pictures and books from the war. And I just was so enamored. And I thought, wow, my grandfather is a war hero. Oh, I'm not a war hero. Grandson, I served because, we had to. We needed to serve because the world it was the Great War. We had to all step up. I even lied about my age so I could go fight, and hearing their stories, like that's what got me so excited about the military. And I thought, when it comes time, because my dad didn't serve, I said, you know what? Then I need to serve. My grandfather served, my dad did, and I go, but I have to serve now to ensure the freedom that my grandfather talked about. And I didn't even fully understand all of that as a young man, as a young kid. But when I was in the military, aware of that because we learned the history of like the Ranger Battalion or the Old Guard, and we learned, why we do what we do. Why do we train so hard? Why are we prepared to go to war, to battle at the drop of a hat? If something bad happens, and we're always on alert. We're always ready to go. Something bad happens, like the news. It's like, oh, you know, stand down. We gotta stay. You gotta stay in the barracks. You gotta hang out here until we decide. If we find out if we're going to get orders to ship out somewhere. And so we're all like, well, oh boy, okay, all right, we're ready to go.
I can also imagine too, because you said like as a child you were an avid reader of, let's say, military history.
Yeah.
But then going into the military, how different that was from the perception you have reading about the stories, but then actually going through it yourself, and then taking it further of like what that military experience meant to you 10 years later, 20 years later, now in your life. Like, I'm sure it's sort of like evolved as to like, you look back on that experience and like, this is why I do this now, or like, this is why, my perception is this way now. So kind of just kind of want to go into the aspect of like you in Georgia, and I know you like have so many talents, right? You're an amazing chef, you're an actor, you do voiceover. I'm sure you're a hunter. There's so many things that you're interested in. I'm just wondering how that military experience has like affected like these very different parts of your life, whether it's like your work life or your personal life.
Well, it's permeated everything I do. I have my service through our country, my short period of time as a ranger, and then as the Old Guard, and from being an actor, from the roles I play, one of the first big roles I got was a Jerry Bruckheimer TV series called Soldier of Fortune, and that show was about a former Marine Corps scout sniper that is part of an elite team put together by the Pentagon, and we go off and do all these crazy missions to keep the world safe. It was right up my alley. I loved it. It was like one of those things where I truly believe I got cast because Jerry Bruckheimer loved the fact that I had been a ranger in the Army, and it was like they were trying to make a really real situational show about strange politics that happen that nobody knows about, and how entities out there keep them from taking over, becoming bigger issues, that would get us into a world war, let's say. So to me, that was just the most wonderful thing. I got to bring all of my military skills and whatnot, even down to.
That's an interesting aspect, because sometimes you think about, our military, they go and like put out these fires, or what we hear in the news, that's what they're doing, that's where they're at. But there's so many things you don't hear about that they're dealing with, so that it doesn't become like an amplified situation that is causing like world issues.
There's a lot of special operation types, from the Navy to the Army, the Air Force, Marine Corps, that go off and do operations that no one ever hears about. They do hear about it in the Pentagon and the and Department of Defense, but you and I, we don't hear about it because we're not in that loop. We don't need to know. We need to know when it becomes a world war, when we have to actually send young men and women off to possibly die. That's when it becomes. So anyway, that's what the show tried to articulate, was those kinds of missions. And and then every other, from that, I used to get lots of military roles, and a lot of them were great roles because I got to play characters honoring our veterans. And you also mentioned my hunting and whatnot. I'm an avid outdoorsman, grew up hunting and fishing as a kid. I was able to parlay that with a company veteran group called Gallant Few. And Gallant Few was started by Carl Munger, who was a major in the Rangers, 1st Ranger Battalion. And Gallant Few helps veterans transition back into the civilian world and civilian life, because it's not always easy.
Right. And
a lot of guys are going through, from their injuries and whatnot. I started doing a TV series called Grateful Nation. Now, Grateful Nation was, we would take combat wounded veterans on these extraordinary adventures around the world, hunting, fishing, and we would use the hunting, or the let's say, the mountains of Colorado while we're elk hunting to tell their story and to show the challenges of having maybe lost legs and arms or eyesight and how they continue to be motivated and to push forward. And without a doubt, everyone, without an exception, every veteran who suffered some catastrophic injury and is now walking on prosthetic legs, let's say, everybody said they would do it again. And they do it for the man on the right and left who are fighting with them, and the camaraderie that they have, and that sense of pride in what they've done. They wouldn't change anything in the world for it. Now, that said, a lot of our veterans, still there's a lot of suicide, terrible suicide rate within the veteran community, because a lot of it, a lot of guys get onto the pain pills because of their injuries and mental illness, and because from the post-traumatic stress and whatnot. And we try to help with that as well. And veterans are the best ones to deal with other veterans, and especially those who served in those types of units where they fought together or understand, because they were like in Fallujah together, fighting, trying to free Iraq and or Afghanistan, and then they can actually talk amongst themselves and about what they went through, about the horrors of war and fighting, and again, it's not all gloom and doom. It's that camaraderie in battle and training and preparing for battle that brings those units together and makes them so cohesive and work like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
And it's sad though, because we don't think, a lot of folks go, listen, the military is not for everybody. It's not. And the thing is, veterans appreciate when someone says, when they honor their service or whatnot, but it's kind of gets to where, I'm just going to get all these people going, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Yeah, I did. And sometimes, we just kind of, sometimes it doesn't have to be overt. It has to be, it's like somebody having dinner and then you find out they're a veteran. A lot of times you hear about people paying for that veteran's meal and not saying a word, not going over, not even talk to him, but just do me a favor. Put his family's meal on the tab.
That's interesting, because that was my next question on, you said veterans are sometimes the best people to deal with other veterans because they can relate and associate. But then the question is, okay, what if you're not a veteran? Like, what are the best ways to show gratitude or with the little things in life? Because I'm a big proponent of, there's a lot of chatter and polarity now with social media. And I don't want to get into politics because that's definitely not the purpose of this. But when that happens is, you create a lot of division in the community. And I always come back to, every person needs to be doing something in their local community to make an impact, because, we can't complain about what's happening all the way in Washington, D.C. or all the way in like Sacramento or whatever. Like, what are we doing in our local community that's actually having an impact? There's so many ways, right? There's the homelessness, there's refugees, there's food shelters, however you are helping. Of course, veterans is a different way, but like, that's a great idea. Like, paying it forward to just, cover the coffee or cover the lunch for someone if you overhear it, if you can, if you have the budget to do that. But what are some other ways that you've seen like veterans feel that they're being appreciated?
It makes me feel right now when I'm thinking about this, there's so many people that do so many wonderful things. Annie Nelson is a friend of mine. She just moved to Nashville, but she had an organization here for years, and she worked with a lot of the Marines down at Camp Pendleton, American Hero Network, and she just did so many wonderful things. And I just remember that she was able to orchestrate. There was a Medal of Honor recipient from the Vietnam War, John Baca, really nice gentleman, and he did so much for his community, helping. But he had a really like a beat up truck. He didn't have a lot of money and all those things. He had his dog and him, and that was his life. But he would help his community any way he could. Picking up material, dropping off food to help them, not thinking about himself. She was able to work with like a local VFW down in Orange County, and then work with Toyota National, the big company, the Toyota company, car company, and they got him a brand new Tundra pickup. One of these like mega pickups. It was just amazing, and they surprised him with it at this event where he thought he was going to celebrate somebody else. The next thing you know, it's like and had TV cameras. It was like he was so taken aback, and they said, "The one condition, John, we're giving you this truck. Yeah, it's your truck, but we know how you are. You cannot give this truck away because they thought he was going to feel unworthy and give it to somebody else that he felt was more worthy. He was, but it's my truck, yes, but don't give it. You can't get it. This is for you, John. Okay, for you to help other people. Okay, I got it. So that was a wonderful thing. Harry Humphreys, who was a Navy SEAL in the Vietnam era, he was our tech advisor on the Jerry Bruckheimer TV series. And Harry and his wife Catherine are just wonderful people. They now live in Texas. Still works on all the, does all the security and provides the tech advising for all the big Michael Bay movies and the John Wick movies, all those kinds of things. Kevin Kent is the Navy SEAL.
Is there a lot of opportunity for veterans to get into the entertainment industry if they're not acting, to provide that kind of?
Yeah, there's a group in L.A. called VME. There's also one in New York, but Veterans in Media and Entertainment, and it covers everything from writers, lots of writers, directors, producers, everything like above and below the line. Above the line would be your actors and directors and producers, and below the line, all the other jobs, from grips who pull the cables and plug in, the lighting guys, the gaffers, all those different jobs. There's
that's really interesting because
tech advising, yeah.
A lot of like what DishDivvy is predicated on is this creator economy, right? That like people have this culinary talent or this resource of their idol kitchen, and they want to put it to use for some income that is meaningful to them, right? Maybe they don't feel fulfillment by potentially engaging in the gig economy by driving Uber all day or something. They want to cook and they want people to like enjoy their food. So this is the passion economy access. Similarly, I think, veterans, they like in the Rangers or any branch, like you've acquired these skill sets that are probably impossible to acquire in any private sector, right? And not that you're going to go use it in a negative way, but like you have this knowledge and this skill set. And now with this like evolution of the gig economy, where there's different ways you can plug in your talents, like maybe you write a Substack subscription about like military life, or maybe you obviously we know like YouTube creators or whatever, that now that you're saying like you become, a tech consultant for film productions. Like it's really fascinating how so many of our talents can now plug into these unconventional jobs, whether they're gigs or full-time, and provide meaningful income to the person.
Real quick, my friend Harry Humphreys I was talking about, I was going to say he did all these wonderful things as a Navy SEAL in the military, in the Navy, during Vietnam. He now pays that forward in the community and tech advising, but he took it a step further, and I was just so really honored that to know him and Catherine, because down in Orange County, and this is not just in Orange County, but it's everywhere, the phenomenon of homelessness, and a vast majority of homeless people are veterans.
Yeah.
Some suffering from mental illness, some suffering from being destitute and things went wrong, and maybe they got divorced, maybe they had an addiction or whatever, and now they're on the street. And what Harry would do is Harry helped create a group, an organization, and actually an app for your phone where people would go to an area with homelessness, and let's say I find you there and find out that Ani, you're living on the street and you're trying to make ends meet, or out of your car, whatever it is, trying to help you, and find out that you serve in your military. Well, I could plug in your social security number. I could verify you, pull up what they call a DD-214, which is your military record of who you are, and everybody in the military has one. They're not secret, it's like everybody has one. And when they look at that, they go, oh, and then they give you an opportunity. They go, listen, I can get you an efficiency apartment. I can do this other thing called working wardrobes, which is like a type of a goodwill type of deal, but they would give you 3 business suits, attire free, they give you that room, you stay in rent free, get your life back together, find you a job, get you out. What are you good at? What do you want to do? Oh, I've always dreamed of being a cook, a chef, a line cook. I just love that. And then, do you have skills? Yeah, I could do this. And next, they find you interviews. And next thing you know, that person now has a job working as a line cook in some nice restaurant. Now you know they're making nice money.
Yeah.
Now they can afford to get their own apartment. You know, they don't need the assistance anymore, and it's got them to help. So anyway, that's you ask how people can help.
I love those kinds of
things.
organizations. And I think, you know, you have like a wealth of knowledge in these organizations that are doing a lot of good, right? It seems like they're actually, you know, it's not just about getting monetary donations. It's like the actionable things they're doing to get these veterans into like better lives or situations.
I was going to say,
if we could.
I was just going to say real quick with DishDivvy, what could people do? I mean, even with DishDivvy, you could. I have no idea how to work it, but you know, if you find those types of veterans that might be in need, families that, you know, maybe don't have a lot of money, maybe they can't afford DishDivvy, you know, find that, and then, you know, have all the different cooks, all the DishDivvy chefs,
for sure,
you know, provide a meal for targeted families. You know, here's a special soul food fried chicken meal that, you know, Tim makes that he grew up eating, and you know this family is going to receive that for Veterans Day. You know, those kind of things are nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking, if you and I can connect after the call and get some of those names of the organizations, and we can tag them in the caption, because there's two parts of it, right? There's people who want to donate the suits or whatever to that organization, and then there's the veterans or folks who can make use of access to that. So we'll definitely post that in the caption so people have access to it. Okay, so kind of I want to switch gears into sharing some photos that you were generous enough to share with me from your service. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so if you want to give me like a 30-second blurb on the photos that I'm going to be cycling through. So what are we looking at here?
Sure. Well, this is my Ranger School graduation photo. Anyway, Ranger School is a 63-day course, and it's broken down into 3 phases. And I was in Ranger class 5-78. We started in February, so kind of a winter Ranger, which we, you know, cold and kind of miserable conditions. But Ranger School is, you see,
what country is this?
This is Georgia. Yeah, it starts off at Fort Benning, Georgia, then goes to Dahlonega, Georgia for the mountain phase, and then it goes down to Eglin Air Force Base for the swamp phase, which is what I went through.
This guy over here broke a leg or something, huh? He's on crutches.
Yeah, well, yep. Everybody, there's guys like that. He's on crutches, and he tries to he will either graduate with the class, because if he can still continue to do all the things he's supposed to do for the prerequisite, or he may get medically recycled and have to start a cycle over or go back to the beginning, depending on, you know, where he is and what his condition is. But Ranger School, yeah, this was one of those challenging things. And you see the Ranger tab, you see the black and gold where it says Ranger. That's the tab that you see Rangers where they wear on their uniform. And so that just means that it's one of it's the premier small unit tactic leadership school in the military. So it's a very challenging
graduation day.
Yeah.
Okay, and then who are these handsome guys here?
Well, the guy on the right here, you see, this is me. This is right when I was about to get out of the military. I was at the old guard at the time. But that's me with all my bling and all my, you know, my orange jump wings and my EIB and my infantry cord and my expert infantry badge and whatnot. And then at the time, we all wore black, Rangers wore black berets and with the flash and the insignia from the Ranger battalion. And the time it was battalions, it's since become the Ranger Regiment, and they do a phenomenal job. These guys are just, I mean, they're stellar at their jobs now. The photo on the left here, this was me for one of the publicity shots for that Jerry Bruckheimer TV series called Soldier of Fortune. So I got to bring a lot of my military experience to that role of Benny Ray Riddle. And it's funny, I always remember that I always kind of fix my gear up in certain ways, and the way I carried my weapon and all those types of things, the way we call weapon retention. And some of the other actors go, dude, how come you look so cool in your stuff? And we look like we just pulled this out of the box. And I go, well, because you did just pull it out of the box. I go, I used a lot of my own gear. I kind of put things, this is how we would do things, wrap tape around this and that. And
You
hang
should have
this here.
gotten costume designer credit.
Yeah. Well, see, I take advice for myself, and they go, and then I would help them. I go, you know what? Here, don't do that. Take that off. Let's put this on. Let's get you something here to make that look good here. And yeah, and so everybody, but see, everyone has their own specific way of wearing things, and so it's I got to again I got to bring those things to bring a little verisimilitude to the character that I was playing. It was supposed to be this hardcore NCO scout sniper that was very good at his job, kind of a stoic individual. But yeah, it was such a great role.
That's great. No, it's a great photo. Okay, on the left here.
Now this is a group of good. Listen to these guys. Okay, the fellow on the far left, Navy SEAL. There I am, a Ranger. Fellow on the right here, he was with the 101st Airborne, and this was actually from one of my friends, John Barton, who was a Marine. He actually did all this great tech advising and help with you've heard of USAA insurance.
Okay.
USA, it's very big, but USA is like insurance for military families, military men, and for their spouses and children and whatnot. So, and we actually were shooting lots of these commercials for USAA, and that by a guy named Peter Lang. So again, we all got to bring our expertise from our military backgrounds, all three of us, to light in these USA commercials, which were very popular at the time, and they were because we're all military. So yeah, it was great.
Kind of another insight into another like job opportunity, right?
Well, yeah, John Barton was great because he helped so many of veterans get great jobs, paying jobs, and a lot of these things, and commercials. He liked a couple of commercials. I got to do a commercial for them. Got paid very good money, as an actor, as a SAG actor. But the thing was we were being hired for our military persona and our expertise in what having had served in the military, and so it was sort of like paying it forward to us. And so it was one of those wonderful experiences. Again, the camaraderie we had together, working together, was just second to none. It's, great guys, great individuals, outstanding all around.
Very nice.
Oh, and over here, the Ranger. I'm sorry, here. Yeah. This is just the 75th Ranger Regiment. This is what they have now. But this you have here. You have you see the lightning bolt through the middle. This is our Ranger insignia. You have the star, and then you have the sun. And what that is the background of this is fighting during the day, fighting at night. Represented by the star. We operate daytime, nighttime with lightning, quick efficiency and speed, and anywhere in the world. And that's kind of the meaning of that. And the Rangers go all the way back to the French and Indian Wars with the British Colonel Robert Rogers, and they made many movies about him. But he was, his Rangers, they hoofed it everywhere, and they fought the French and Indians, and it was they were sort of the genesis for the Rangers today.
Very interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay, where are you at here?
This is me on the right. This side. That's the gentleman I was telling you. This is at the. We were shooting this for. This was a short film honoring our veterans, and we were there to honor one of our fallen at a military ceremonial funeral, and I had played his commanding officer. It's paying homage to his service and sacrifice, and ultimately his death, defending our freedoms. And this John Barton, that's John Barton. He's the one who I was telling you about. But this was an outstanding film, just honoring our, the fallen and what they represent and what they've done, and the freedoms that we have, like you and I were talking about earlier. Yeah. Yep. And this is the LA, the Los Angeles Veterans Cemetery near Wilshire.
Westwood, in Westwood.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so I think this is you.
Memories. Look at all these memories. On the horses there, that's me riding lead. And this was doing one of our white horse section, obviously. And we were performing a military funeral at Arlington National Cemetery. We were pulling a soldier to his final resting place where his family was waiting, and it was such a an honor to have done that. Over here, these three young Rangers here, these three young guys, we'd all just recently gotten out of Ranger school and got our Ranger tabs, so we were very excited about that. And this was us at Fort Lewis, Washington, and I was probably 20 years old, if that, at the time.
Wow.
That's Rick Gibney and Jim Giuliani, all outstanding individuals. Jim lives in Florida now, and Gib, he lives in Minot, North Dakota. Now, interesting about Gibney, in the middle there, he was the one that got me to the old guard. But Rick, he ended up getting out of the Army, going to school, going back into the military, but going into the Air Force, and he became an F-16 fighter pilot.
Oh, wow.
And then became like a squadron leader. He was, I ran into him years later at his squadron. I was like, oh my gosh, you became an F-16 fighter pilot, dude. That's crazy. Yeah, I did. But yeah, that's cream of the crop right there,
Amazing.
These are some outstanding individuals here. And Command Sergeant Major sits over here of the old guard. Now, I'm with an actor there called D.B. Sweeney. You might have seen him from The Cutting Edge. He's
here in the middle?
Cutting Edge.
In the middle?
No, that on the far right. That's D.B.
Right.
Sweeney.
Okay.
Yeah, on the far right. And I met him. This was the 25th anniversary for a film that I did about the old guard called Gardens of Stone. Francis Ford Coppola directed it, and DB played the young Jackie Willow, the star of the movie, who all he wanted to do was go to Vietnam to fight for his country because it was in his blood and his lineage. His father, grandfather, they all fought in the wars, and that he needed to go to Vietnam. And being at the old guard, he didn't have that opportunity. So finally, he got his wish, and he goes off to war and got killed. But it's a very, very powerful film, and the book is actually just amazing. But that's D.B. Sweeney, and that's
What was the name of the film?
Gardens of Stone.
Gardens.
Okay. So yeah, it's the nickname for Arlington Cemetery because of all the headstones. So it's called the Garden. It's called the Garden of Stone.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I'm learning a lot. I didn't even know that.
And then on the left here, I'm with Medal of Honor recipient from the 2nd Ranger Battalion, Leroy Petrie. And this was at an event. And this is also the gentleman in the middle is Dana. His name is Dana. I'm kind of blanking on his last name, but he was a Special Forces soldier. And he actually is a pretty amazing individual as well. And so we were in New York at the USS Intrepid for an event honoring our veterans, and I got to meet Leroy, and it was quite an honor because he was from the same unit that I was from, and he was the first Ranger to receive the Medal of Honor.
Oh wow!
Yeah, pretty amazing. I love this photo because it epitomizes what it means to be an old guard soldier. Now these guys are tomb soldier, or which I should say. They walk the guard, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, which is a very prestigious, high level, of expertise, and there's a lot that they have to go through with the precision and the reverence with which they have to guard that tomb. See, it's raining now. You guard it, rain, snow, shine, in the heat of, the summer could be 110 degrees, and you're still out there walking that line. And at nighttime, it's guarded 24 hours, 365 days a year. And that little mat you see, that rubber mat, these soldiers, the 2 million own gold soldiers, they walk 21 paces, one way, stop, they hit their heels, click, turn, wait 21 seconds, and then take another 21 steps to the other side. Same thing, stop, heels, turn, 21 seconds, and again they walk. And when they do the changing of the guard, which they do every hour, they will then relieve the one tomb guard with the new tomb guard, but they have to do the inspection of the rifle. It's all very ceremonial, very sharp, and very. It's just amazing. So you have to see that if you can. But
so
this is. I'm sorry. The remains in that tomb they were unidentified at the time. Now we have DNA. Now we could probably find a lot of who they find out some of them who they are because of all the people that are on the 23andMe and Ancestry.com, that kind of thing. But that's what this represents, is that They will always be honored. They will always be guarded, and with the utmost respect and reverence.
Yeah, that's amazing. The discipline it takes to do to go through that procedure and like do it over and over and over again. I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
And you said every hour
you
they
can't.
change.
I was going to say you can't talk at all. Like when they're doing all of the when they're there, it has to be silent. There can't be a lot of chatter, and
Right.
they'll even sometimes stop, and they'll address the crowd or whoever is speaking, you know, and request that the person speaking show the reverence that the tomb requires and that they're guarding. And then the person, oh, you know, you can't be on your phone chatting. You can
Right.
videotape, you can take pictures. You just can't, you know, you can't be
disruptive. Yeah.
yeah. It's just an amazing place.
Yep.
On the left, that with my tight little trousers on there, that's at the old guard. You know, that's my horse. Those are our horse riding trousers and boots, and that was us getting ready for a funeral that day. And so I forgot who asked to take the picture, but it was like it was like about 10 of us in this picture. But that's me on the far left there, and then over here, this one here, me with the beard there, holding the plaque. I got honored with something really wonderful to become a distinguished member of the 3rd U.S. Infantry Old Guard. And they usually pick someone that they say, based upon your life, what you've done, your service while you were in, and continued service afterwards, and, you know, helping people in general, but, you know, veterans. And so, you know, I was honored to be asked to come back to D.C. At Fort Myer, which is at Arlington Cemetery, and to receive this great honor. So, and these are all outstanding gentlemen from Gulf War and Vietnam and the current global war in terror, you know, Afghanistan and whatnot. So it's just amazing company to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is the last photo.
Okay. Well, on your left, these are the flags that are put in front of every soldier's headstone for Memorial Day. And it's a gargantuan task because there's so many headstones there. And but it's one of those things that in the old guard that we would do during that period of time. We'd all go out there. We'd all get like our satchels of flags and go out there, and we were given a certain section of the cemetery and made sure we put those in. They also do the same thing for Christmas, where they actually put a wreath on everyone, you know, for Christmas to come in with the holiday. It's just a great respect to those who lay there and gave their life or served and have the honor of being laid to rest at Arlington. One interesting thing about Arlington, it's on the Curtis Lee estate. Curtis Lee was Robert E. Lee's wife's family, which they were given Arlington, the Curtis Lee mansion and the property that all the tombstones are on. They were given that I believe as a wedding present when he married his wife. But because Lee chose to fight for the state of Virginia as opposed to fighting for the United States of America, he fought for the Confederacy. So President Lincoln decided to give him a stark reminder of his decision. So they started burying the Union soldiers that were killed in battle on the Curtis Lee estate, which now has become, you know, the Arlington National Cemetery. And Robert E. Lee never went back, never tried to claim the property again, never went back again.
Wow, what a story.
Yeah. So, and then over here on the right, I was filming in Normandy, France, and this is at the American Cemetery at Normandy, right on the coast. And that's you look out there, and that's the beach just below there is where, you know, if you saw like Saving Private Ryan, it's the beach where Omaha Beach, they call Bloody Omaha. It was the beach where all those young men getting off those boats, and the ramp dropped, and a lot of them never even made it off the boat. You know, some of them drowned, some of them shot, some were blown up, some made it to the beach, and, you know, didn't make it. I mean, it was a bloody day. And so we were there. We were given the honor. This is the young man I'm with there, his name's Joe Lynch. He was a ranger in the 3rd Ranger Battalion, and they asked us if we would do the honor of bringing the flag down that night at the end of the day, and then folding the flag and then returning it to its proper place, until the next morning. So this was a great honor for us to be asked to do that. So it's it's just, again, this is, if you've never been to the American Cemetery at Normandy, I highly recommend it. It's just such an amazing experience, and the docents there, they just know every story about every soldier that's buried there. And when I say soldier, I also mean, there's also some females that were nurses and whatnot that are buried there as well. And it's just an amazing number of folks that are there, and that became their final resting place. France gave them this to say thank you for their service. So it's just an amazing place.
I'm so torn when I see these photos, because in an ideal world, there should be no war, there should be no aggression, but this is a stark reminder of that there is. On the other side of that coin is, okay, well, there's the need to protect freedoms, and there's the need to stand up for what's right and wrong in the world. So it's very, I can just imagine of you being in the service, how emotional you are when you're in these locations. But like, that's kind of like some of the torment that I have when I'm like in a cemetery like this. I'm
real quick story about this. The docents are just so amazingly articulate about every person that's buried there. She told the story once. I remember it really moved us. But she mentioned this one woman who had since passed away, but her young husband was killed on D-Day. He was killed on the beach, and he's now at his final resting place. But every year on his birthday, she would come from the U.S. She would come, and she had prepared his favorite meal that he loved. She would lay out like a picnic blanket, a picnic basket. She would have tea, and she would have his food, and she would talk to him. And then she would pull out a book, his favorite book that he had, and she would read that book. And she would be there from the morning when it opened till it closed that evening, and read to him, reading to the headstone, and have her lunch and tea and her meal, and then kiss the headstone and say, "I'll see you next year, dear." And she never remarried, didn't have any kids, but she said he was the love of my life. How could I marry somebody else? I get goosebumps to think about it, but yeah, he goes, she came until the day she died. And they go, where is she? Why didn't she hear this year? Oh yes, she passed away. She passed away like in her 90s, but through her entire life, she would come there, and it's just that's
a glimpse into like every tombstone there is so many stories. Yeah, that's just one.
You think about the Gold Star families who've lost a child or a father or a husband, and how Memorial Day is really about them and about their loved one who died, but it's also about them because they're the ones who have to endure that loss. And so, Memorial Day, you say, you honor the deceased, but you also honor the family that gave their loved one, and now they have to live with that in perpetuity.
Yeah, and I think you said it best too, that when you're amongst other veterans who have potentially lost a limb or lost eyesight or whatever it may be, or have PTSD, and you're saying through and through they're proud of their service and would have done it again. At least that gives some sort of like, not closure, but like some understanding that yes, like these lives weren't lost in vain. They were, there was a purpose that was driving these folks to serve their country. And thank you so much for explaining, like giving us all these stories, because I think it really personifies like what we're looking at. Sometimes you see an image on Memorial Day, or you see some headline about veterans, but you don't really stop to think about the human stories that are behind each one, the emotions, the ramifications, everything associated with like even one veteran or one, memorialized soldier. So I think it was just really important for us to I know it's like a quick interview. We didn't really get to like the meat of things, but to touch upon like what is Memorial Day, why it's important, and why to take pause and really think about, honoring these souls on not just that day, but like definitely on that day and the rest of the year. So with
I was
that,
going to say real quick. I was just going to say one thing, because when you think about America being that melting pot, those cemeteries, Arlington National Cemetery, the American Cemetery at Normandy, it's a cross section of humanity from the U.S. You know, from Christians and Muslims and Sikhs and Jews and I mean non-believers. It's just it crosses every line. You know, there's people of every ethnicity
yep,
and from every culture who fought for the United States because it became their home. You know, a lot of that's
yeah,
the one thing. A lot of our immigrants now that come to this country, they are given a choice. Hey, if you serve your country, you will become a citizen. You know, so they go, they serve for
yeah,
4 years, and it makes them eligible to take their citizen test and become a real, true United States citizen. And
yeah,
it's like, you know, the greatest honors I see that those people that have taken those tests, like your parents, they're more are understanding of what America is because they have to learn all those things to take their test and to be able to answer those questions, and they really understand it.
oh, I'm
Whereas
telling you, my grandmother couldn't even speak English, and she was so excited to learn that test. I mean, she was like just
that's
firing off the answers, and she
yeah,
could. I mean, she put some words together, but for her, it was like she was studious about it. She actually was like, "There's no way I'm not passing this test."
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You learn so much, and I think it should be incumbent upon every parent to teach their children this. It's not up to the school to teach them. I think the parents should make them aware of that. You know, and what does this country mean? Well, this country means, you know, your Papu and your Yaya came to this country for freedom because of what they came from, and that what they came from was this, and it wasn't pleasant. That's why they left.
right,
That's why a lot of people
right,
leave those countries.
yeah,
And now here
and
you are, you're
left
living
and
in this
never went
land of
back.
freedom and opportunity. Yeah,
Left and never went back. So for decades, those countries have stayed in that situation, right?
yeah,
Like arguably, Iran is probably maybe even a worse situation to go back to than when we left in 81. So I'm sorry, 85. But yeah, I mean, we can go on and on about it, but I agree. I think, you know, God bless America. This is like like absolutely appreciative of the country and the opportunities that we have. And, you know, I think my children learn that from us and from their grandparents. And really important to always take pause and be grateful of where we are, because even just being born in the United States alone, regardless of economic status, you are in the top percentile of like living status in the world. And I think it's really important to realize that not only do we need to appreciate that, but also give it forward of like, if there's folks in our community that do need a helping hand or whatever, we take even micro steps in our local community to help everyone else. And, you know, all tides raise ships. So I'm a big
yeah.
proponent of that.
Yeah, and that's the one thing we always hear is freedom is only one generation away from losing it. And that's the one thing we have to be vigilant about, is to really understand what is this freedom and how can we lose it? And people go, oh, we've always been free, you know, but we're only free because of the young men and women that put their lives on the line.
Well, when you talk to our parents and our grandparents, they'll say like this shift in their country, whether it was the Islamic Revolution or the Soviet, it happened almost overnight. That's what they'll say, is like it wasn't this like 10-year process or something. Like it almost happened overnight. And so, you know, that echoes in my ear of like really understanding that, okay, you know, we need to constantly be making sure that we're protecting like whatever is our constitutional rights and our freedoms.
Exactly. And understand what they are. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, Tim. Well, this is great. Really appreciate you taking the time, and we'll definitely tag a bunch of those organizations when we publish, because I think it's really important for folks who are definitely gonna be motivated and inspired by this and want to take some action to help folks in their community.
Well, thank you very much for honoring me and letting me you know, talk with you about this, because it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Tim. Bye.